We shall start in a few seconds. It's just a matter of João joining us once again. And João, once you're ready to go, just let us know. And the stage is yours. Just before we move on, a request for all our speakers just to turn off the cameras while João is speaking. Then we'll join him once again. And by the way, I'm André. I'm the comms manager at Startup Portugal. And yeah, once again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. And well, João, the stage is yours. And then we'll move on with the session.
Hi, André. Thank you very much. Hi, all. My name is João Borga, Executive Director for Startup Portugal. And I'd like to say a few words on the day that we present the Startup Hub new dashboard. Before being educated into business and into the startup world, I was an engineer. And there was a saying from engineering that it's also common for the startup world that I would like to share with you. It goes something like, what you can't measure, you can't improve. Thus, if you can't improve funding, you can't improve support, new initiatives, you can't improve really anything if you don't know what you're dealing with. But it's a little bit like the Electron. Many have tried to measure both speed and position, and almost all of them have failed to do both at the same time. It is hard. It is a hard process because the startup community, it's always changing. The definitions and metrics aren't clear for everyone and they're not the same for everyone. Companies come and go, ventures merge, incubators and accelerators and institutions change their missions and evolve. Back in 2016, when we started, no one knew how many startups there were in Portugal, not even the number of incubators, VCs, or many of the other actors. Because all of us who worked in the field understood how hard and long-term this work could be, and how you have to be committed for long effort without a lot of return. But in Startup Portugal, since the beginning, we firmly believed that we had to know, we had to help those taking decisions with the right information, those investing, those with innovative business to get noticed. So we started. And since then, in several iterations, MVPs and exercises, a bit like in the startup world, we got closer and closer to knowing the speed and position of our community at the same time. But as in the Electron, it will always be a work in progress, and with a certain level of uncertainty, I can say. We started by the accelerators and incubators back in 2017, and then in 2018 and 19, we estimated the impact of the startups in the GDP. In 2020, we mapped the ecosystem and pinpoint them on a map where they are. And lately, we turn our attention both to know better the startups, but also to VCs and investment. Today, I'm very pleased to be here and present to you the latest step in this journey. That was only possible because of the collaboration of everyone in the community, first of all, but also the effort of the Startup Portugal's team and the Deal Room's team, which I think they broke a record, but Matthew can tell us more about that. But also, and above, the trust and commitment of those in power that placed Startup Hub both in the national strategy for entrepreneurship, but also in the plan of action for digital transition, which I'm certain we'll hear a little bit more later on. Without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Matthew from Deal Room, that will show us and show you why I'm so excited and all the Startup Portugal team is excited, and why we hope that this new dashboard will bring out the power of data and will help all of us to work better with startups, to find better investments, and simply to know more innovative products. Thank you all. Matthew, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, João, for this really inspiring opening. And I'm extremely honored and delighted to present the work that we did together. Indeed, with this platform, we broke a record. And this is like was only possible thanks to the amazing effort from Startup Portugal in sharing with us all their knowledge about the Portuguese startup tech ecosystem. The kind of record was that we managed to build this platform in only a couple of weeks, which is great. And this is like still work in progress where we need your input. And I'm happy to present you this work and to ask for your collaboration, feedback, and inputs to make it better. But before going into that, I would like to briefly introduce myself. So I'm Mathieu Demoulin, easier to say in French than in Portuguese. The head of ecosystem at droom.co. And for the ones that don't know us already, we are a global data platform for intelligence on startups, innovation, high growth companies, and tech ecosystem. In that regards, we are already supporting some of the leading tech hubs in Europe, but also outside Europe in Oceania with like people like New Zealand and Australia. And we have been helping them to track, understand, promote, and map their tech ecosystem with a product that we call the ecosystem platform that I will just show you in a couple of minutes. These platforms comes directly from the intelligence of droom, and we have a really large API that today covers roughly 1.5 million startups worldwide. And we use these APIs to create ecosystem platforms that are publicly available, where founders, investors, entrepreneurs, and others can contribute, share their input, and make sure that we manage like together to build the most comprehensive ecosystem and platform around the Portuguese tech ecosystem here per se. So let me share my screen and I will try to walk you through some of the key features of our platform and try to develop what we managed to build together with Startup Portugal and soon, I hope, the other stakeholders in Portugal. All right, cool. So first of all, how to get to this platform. So to date, and I think, well, this website is already available for a few years. You can go on startuphub.pt, which is the website built by Startup Portugal when we find tools for entrepreneurs. If you scroll down, since a couple of weeks, there is a new section called Dashboard, and that's where we enter the dashboard that we built for Startup Portugal. So I'm going to click on it right now. Once there, of course, you can use this URL. We'll share it at the end of this presentation if you want to go there directly, but we're going by the Startup Portugal website works perfectly. So as soon as you get there, that's where all our intelligence stands here. What is super interesting is that, of course, this platform is about startup, but not only. You can find information about job openings, about corporate, about investors, about funding rounds, exits, accelerators, universities, event and service provider that are happening in Portugal. What you can see on my screen right now is a dashboard, which is a great summary of everything you can find on the platform. So you see that to date, we track roughly 2.1 thousand startups in Portugal, 82 VC investors, 25,000 startup employees, 230 corporates. You also have a snapshot here of the investment from 2015 to date and the different VC round and the amount of VC round that happened year over year. If you scroll down, we also decided to create some cards to help users navigating this platform. So you have pre-made searches around hot startups here. So who are the hot startups at the moment in Portugal? This is based on growth signals such as number of employees, funding rounds, our website visit for these companies. You also have hot scale-ups, which are later stage companies from 50 employees. You have suggested searches, but I'll get to that in a minute. You have the latest round happening in Portugal. So yeah, we see, for example, the round from Fidzai that happened a couple of days ago, which this company is originated from Portugal. So that's why you can find it directly there. You have the new companies that we managed to discover and add to the platform, as well as a taxonomy map, which is super interesting as a first-time user because it shows you the capabilities of our tools and what you can do with that. So you see that we have different industries, we have different sub-industries, we have different tags, we track different technologies. On the top of the screen here, there is also the Portuguese map. If you select a specific region, let's say, well, the area of Lisbon, you'll see that the graph here gets updated, and you will see the odd startups and odd scale-ups are also updated. If you change region, north, which if I remember well, is also Porto and Braga in there. So you'll see like the hot startups and odd scale up from the region. So that's easy for you to really like get your end into the platform and navigate the Portuguese tech ecosystem. If you want to go a bit more in details, that's where you can really try to dive into the startup and scale up tab, for example. And here we decided to build this platform using the same logic for every single tab. You'll have a list of companies as a column with different column here. You see like market, type, employees. And if you click on the arrow here, well, you see that you can move left and right, and you have like a selection of columns by clicking on the 3 dots. So we track information from the market to the tech stack, to the revenue, the growth stage of the company. So almost every information you could imagine about startups. So that's the first way to play with the data, similar to an Excel table. You can say, well, I only want companies with at least 20 employees. Then it's going to filter directly and automatically and get you the results for Portuguese startups with 20 or more employees. If you want to go one level deeper, there is this button called Advanced Filters. And if you click right here, that's where you will discover all the different filters that we have within the app. So there is a section around market and type. There is a section about the jobs, about the location of the company, about the age, about the size, the growth, funding, last round date, founder's background, or even impact and diversity, which is like super important today to measure. Like all companies following the SDG from the United Nations. This is the kind of data that we want to track with our platform. So if we take a concrete example, let's take, for example, well, I think we all miss it. Let's imagine that we take the travel industry here directly. If you click on apply, you'll see that the results will get updated, and you only see the companies within the travel industry that have 20 or more employees. What is pretty interesting there is that the sub-industries are directly suggested to the user to help you go one level deeper. And this is directly based on the inputs that you will add here. So here we have travel, but let's say that you want to have food, for example. Well, you see that innovative food, food logistic and delivery, these are the different sub-industry that we discover about the food industry here. What you can do next, of course, you can keep playing with the filters. I think I just show you 2 examples. You got the idea. You can, of course, play with that yourself. But then you can select specific companies. So if you click on Barkin, per se, that's where you will discover all the information that we track around Barkin. So you see that on the top of the screen, here you have information about the industry, about the market, the income stream, as well as the tag for this company. If you scroll down, you will find a card with the main information, like the launch date, the number of employees. On the right side here, you have some analytics. So here about number of employees, but that can be also about web visits. So some nice upward trends here. You have the investors. So who are the investors? When did they invest and how much? The tech stack from this company, as well as the funding team and their background. So all this information combined, it helps you get a more detailed picture of this company and to better understand what this company is about. Of course, there are like some other tabs here. So you can go a bit deeper into the analytics. You can go a bit more in details with the team. You can find some similar companies that are not necessarily based in Portugal, but do have similar business model and similar industries. So this gives you like a really complete and detailed view on this specific company. And we tried to build all our company's profile the same way so that it's easy for the user to understand what this is about. As a startup yourself or as a company entrepreneur or founder, if you find your company into this app, you can edit it yourself and you can add yourself to the company to eventually add some missing information or correct information that eventually wrongly input on your profile. This can be done by clicking on the edit button just on the top right here. So that's a good way for you to collaborate and help us get a better picture about the Portuguese tech ecosystem. Of course, the more complete your profile is, the more visible the company will be, because well, it's gonna like answer all the questions and all the criteria from the filters that you input. Another pretty nice aspect from this platform is around investors. So if I click on the investor tab, just on the left right here, you'll see that I have a list of all the investors that are currently based in Portugal. There are different investor type, and similar to the company, you can use the advanced filter to narrow down your results. We also added some suggested searches on the top here to help you see the capabilities of the tool and help you understand what you can do with that. So if I click on active VCs, then I'll see all the active VCs that are based in Portugal, sorted by the number of rounds they had in their activity, in their whole activity. So you can scroll down, you have this nice list of investors. If you want to go one level deeper, let's say that you're energy company, well, then you want to select an investor that do have some experience in energy. So you can select the energy industry experience tag right here. When you click on apply, then you'll see all the companies that already invested in energy and that do have some experience in there. Let's say that this investor is interesting for you, but well, that's where you find all the information about it. You will discover where this investor is located, what's the latest fund size, who are the unicorns in its portfolio, do they have some notable LPs, but as well some portfolio analysis. So where do they invest, how do they invest, which round? You have a snapshot of their notable investments, and Fitsai is part of those, as well as information from the team and the latest fund. So that's super interesting as a founder, but also as an investor to see, to discover your profile on this platform and see if all the information is correct and all the information has been added correctly directly in the app. You can update your portfolio as an investor, or you can discover this specific portfolio as a company. So if you click on portfolio here, you click on analyze portfolio, well, then you're back on the startup and scale up tab, and you can start playing again with the platform and try to discover all the companies that are part of their Amilar venture partners portfolio. So that's a good way for a user to discover a list of companies and try to filter down the results from this nice platform. If you want to select a specific company, well, that's usually what you do when you are logging into a new platform. You want to see your company, you want to see if you're well represented. You can, of course, use the top search bar right here. So if you click on Fitsai again, well, then the company will appear right here. And similar to regular search, you can just click on there and then you end up on their profile. So that's really good way as a entrepreneur to understand what this platform is about. Of course, then we tried to add what we called investment heat maps that help the user to also get some view on the trends of the Portuguese market and see which industries receive the most investment in 2020, for example, or 2019. So that helps you understand what are like the current industries that receive investment, but what could also be the next tendency and could be the next industry that is booming in Portugal. So super interesting to have a look at that. For the user to also get your first hand on the platform, we built what we called curated content. This specific section gives you an overview of the different filters that are available in this dashboard and have been created together with Startup in Portugal and The Room. So here you see that you have a specific section about travel tech, one about deep tech here. You have one around food, one around transportation. So feel free to play around, and that's really going to give you some idea on how to best use this platform and how to really get all the insights that you're trying to get from a platform such as this one. I think as like a final word, I also wanted to share with you the homepage, which is like the first page you should go into when you log in. And it gives you some information about how you can add your organization, how you can become a partner of ours, but also some more detail about where the data is coming from, and some glossary and definition. So, well, we are together, and I think I can here speak for Startup Portugal a bit. We are delighted to publicly launch this platform today. But we also need your inputs, your feedback, as Joao was mentioning during the opening, to make it better and make sure that we cover the Portuguese tech ecosystem, and that all the startups that are part of this ecosystem are well represented in this platform that can then be used in reports, in policy making, but also by international investors and companies that are looking to relocate into Portugal. So I wanted to thank you again, and I think I will leave the stage to the debate panel together with Pedro and Nancy. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matthew. I would like to welcome on stage Nancy, a partner at Semeia Ventures, and Pedro, which is the CMO at Landing Jobs. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
I hope you found the presentation by Matt as insightful as I did. I think it's a good start for our debate. The first thing that comes to mind when talking about data to me is that old Portuguese adagio about secrecy, you know, that secrecy is in the heart of business. How do you guys relate to this? Do you think it makes sense when we're talking about technology startups? Is this something that still applies? Nancy, would you like to start?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we live in a world of transparency right now. And we only grow if we help each other, if we work together in a group. And talking about as an investor, even if you look at all of our successful startups, there's not one investor that invested in the startup. There's so many that invested. So we have to be really good at co-investing. So we need to partner. We need to talk about our successes, and we need to show and mirror what's going on in our day-to-day. So platforms like this will do that. Okay, so I'm totally, I think the Portuguese adagio is dead.
A long time ago, I think. Well, if I can give my 5 cents, obviously one of the best or the worst kept secrets of the startup world is that if you go and try to build your startup based on the secret of your marvelous idea, you'll probably get nowhere, except a lot of frustration. So I think that that's one of the things that it's kind of countercultural to our base Portuguese culture, but I think that the newer generations, they are learning this more and more. Fortunately, we are starting to have also more and more cases of success of people who have thrived much more by putting their efforts, not denying their secrets, but in partnering and collaborating with other people to make their business a success. Regarding the market data, it's fundamental. One of the things that we still lack a lot and have a long way to go in terms of investment, for example, especially foreign investment to Portugal. The foreign investors are beginning more and more also to discover Portugal, but we have still a long way to go when it comes to reaching for example, the average investment level of our European brother countries. So it's essential for everyone to know as much as possible about what we are doing, not just the good things, especially the good things, but also where are the areas that are lacking more investment, more opportunities, because a lot of times the best investment is made precisely in the areas that are not being invested until a given point. And knowing all this, and when we're talking about investment, for example, when I was looking at one of the cool things in Deal Room, because as a good tech guy, I went to scavenge it all yesterday. It's, for example, to go and look at universities. I'm really curious about getting universities to look at this platform and going to their own university and seeing the number of founders and startups that departed from people that passed through the university. Obviously, there's a lot of information that's not here. So this is a crowdsourced platform in terms of data introduction. But it's one of the aspects that I think we need to improve a lot. It's that transition, you know, from university to people building their startups inside the university or when they leave the university. So bringing this information, making it public, reducing the asymmetry of information, all good news. We need more things like this, you know, and better data also. So everyone, one of the things that my advice, and I think you should be already working on it, it's to get as much people as possible putting, updating the information. I went to see mine, it's completely outdated. I registered in Yulum in 2015. So I need to go and do what I'm praising for. But definitely you should try to get as many data as possible in this.
And since we're talking about, and I think that's an interesting point that you touched in, Pedro, regarding the universities and where people started. I mean, developing a product is something that takes a long time, and people sometimes overlook that the startup, before starting to turn a profit, their value resides not only on their idea, but also on their team. And that's exactly what Landing Jobs works at. So having that in mind, do you think that's something that, and I think this question also goes well with Nancy. Do you feel that having this type of information available, how do you feel it may impact the business?
The business, from the startups, or the perspective of the universities regarding this?
The business on the perspective of the startups, and how do then Nancy can jump in and tell us a little bit, how does an investor look at it?
Well, I think that when you go and look for an investment, you need to put your cards on the table. So you should not hide anything, right? And the first and the best way possibly for investors to notice your startup, it's for you to have your data updated in a platform like this. Dealroom, it's one of the key players in this market, and obviously an investor, and they are looking for new markets to enter where probably there are investment opportunities that have not been scouted by their competitors, because investors also compete among themselves. It's to be present in these platforms, you know. That's one thing. The other thing is looking for clients, which is also a very important thing for startups, right? So this has not only startups that probably are not, it might be the clients of another startups, but also having corporations here. It's very relevant, for example, for people to understand who are the key contacts, because corporations should also be a lot more warm towards getting contacts from startups that would want to sell them something, because this is innovation out of the box, you know. It's not programs of innovation, it's innovation directly from people that spend their lives doing it. So having all this information available for all the players in the market, it can only be good for the business of startups, in my opinion.
Obviously, for investors, it's extremely important. We have to get to know startups, right? So they are our clients. So we need to get to know them, and we get to know them very early. So yes, it's important to have universities and knowing who came from where, who's doing what, how many times they failed. I wish that information was available, and how many times we all failed, even as investors, right? Because we invest in things that do fail. And that's very important for us to get to know, because what matters at the end of the day and where we're going to get success is it's our track record. Okay. And if we can mirror our track record in platforms like this, that's what we need to do. Okay. Our competition needs to know who we are, what we're doing. This world where we live, it's based on trust. Okay. And we need to trust each other. And it's the information that is out there that we can gain this trust. So we do make businesses, us investors, we're not banks. We believe in the startups. We believe in the promoters of it. They are people. So the relationship is based on trust. And we need information just to back up our investments. And the more we share this with other startups that are starting, with other talent that is out there that want to start a startup, the better it is. The better we get, and the more mature we get. So yes, this is a big step for the Portuguese ecosystem. We do need to get better at putting this data together. Culturally, we don't like it. Okay, it's not something that comes natural to us. We don't feel that it's a good thing. We only like to talk about it when we have success, when we already know we did well, not when we did when we don't do well. Landing job, like I still remember the first name landing jobs had when they were back in university. It was mucho work. I don't think a lot of people know that.
You know that.
I know. I know that. Okay.
That's great. You're one of the few people in the world that knows that. Now a
Exactly.
lot more people know. Okay.
Okay, but I do know that. And that information is not there, but it could be. Why not? Okay. It's information that that tells the story also, right? And that makes all the difference.
Mhm. Completely agree.
You got me thinking, Nancy, when you talked about trust, and just previously you talked a little bit about failing, and we need to put our failures out there. This is something that I think that Portuguese are still a little bit too adverse to do so, in the sense that it seems that we are afraid to try and to and to fail and learn from those failures. Obviously, when you said let's put it out there, you were talking about it being an important part for building this trust and for showcasing the track record and the value that it brings to the table, right?
Yes, obviously. Okay, because the more someone is an entrepreneur, even if they failed 3 times, but they're still going at it, that means they have the stigma. They want to do better and they want to go for it, right? So that shows initiative, that shows a lot. And we have to know that, us as investors, even us as investors, I already invested in 9 startups and 4 of them failed completely. So why not put that out there? And this is the type of strategies, even the way we think, the way we invest as investors. Every startup should know, okay, what we're doing and how we think. Why do we say yes to one startup and why do we say no to another? Okay, so all of these rules that we create to do better deals, there also should be transparent. And these platforms help a lot. Okay. And knowing how to read that information is also very important because it's not easy. Okay. Investors can make it hard and startups can make it really hard too.
And Pedro, do you want to weigh in on this? I mean, you at Landing Jobs, you guys work with mostly with talent. So how does this failure translate to the hiring process? Is this something that you feel that startups are starting to weigh in and consider when hiring someone?
Well, let me tell you what I do. Whenever I think of bringing someone to Landing Jobs, I always go and look for people that have already passed in startups. Why? Because I've been in the big corporate world, in the startup world, and I know that if I want someone to come and to be really resilient, adaptable, flexible, but you know that with this, I was going to use some vernacular, but people who have really were tough, you know, those are the startup people, the people that have passed as founders or as employees in startups. And to me, it's completely not only a badge of honor, but a badge of value. People who have failed in startups, as long as they have tried, of course. You always you have this the category of entrepreneurs or lifestyle entrepreneurs. There is for everyone, but these you can identify them with data. You know, in the ecosystem knows things. The thing is for things to also to be known outside the ecosystem. Failing is part of life, you know. I hold all my failures. Those were the times I learned the most, and that probably when I gained more value as a professional, you know. And I think that the culture is changing. But again, and I completely agree with Nancy, it's key to share the information, to share the experiences, to share this data that we are looking at nowadays in deal room for people to know the true information, because you can try to sell the ideal of entrepreneurship like being Facebook or Google, those are residual percentage of all the millions of tries that people have done and is doing nowadays in terms of launching new business, new innovative new business that will most probably fail when they start. By far the largest probability is like failing. It's like marrying, you know that if you marry, you have a 70% of chance of getting divorced. So you need to consider that as a statistic. That's information. It's just that. You then decide what you do, but you have the information. Information is key in all these. Not just the quantitative data, but also the experience data, the sharing of all these, to be the transparency, as Nancy was saying.
And this is something that we also do a lot in Startup Portugal, is to try to make people understand that trying is important and failing is part of the process, and that actually just adds value to the person and to the team that hires somebody who has been through that. So yeah, thank you guys for stating the same. It's great to be on the same page. Now, I was curious. I think that the most important part of this dashboard and this partnership with Dealroom is the fact that it makes information available, obviously, but the timing of it, we're talking about making information available almost in real time. So it's really dynamic, and it really impacts the way that we look at the ecosystem. Do you guys feel that this will actually improve the way people will look at Portugal as an ecosystem? I know this is a little broad question.
Sorry. I know, but definitely. Like, let me tell you what I did. After the Fed's Eye. I went to go see who were the investors, who made money. Okay, who made money with this? And that information obviously is very important. It is very important for us to know, who's out there looking for new opportunities, who's out there doing successful things, because this is like a circle. Okay, us having unicorns in our ecosystem, they bring back into the ecosystem. So, and because they are going to for sure help other entrepreneurs start up their own startups, and then a few years from now, those startups will also do their way and become successful too. All these entrepreneurs with experience are going to help the ecosystem, and us as investors, we need to know that. We need to follow that. Okay, we need to know that these entrepreneurs are also, which are that one day were founders, were successful, they're helping other founders, and that is happening because they are teaching and they're giving experience to founders to do it the right way. Okay, and so that is very, very important, not for national investors, but also for the international, right? Because they can start here, but one day they have to go out. And as they go out, the more us investors can co-invest with investors outside, the best, right? And if we can say, yes, that startup is already from a serial entrepreneur, he already did a unicorn, now he's doing his second startup, obviously we have a better track record. So the more stories we can tell, the more information that we can show, obviously it's the best for the country.
To answer your real-time question, I'm a bit biased there because I'm a guy from data science originally. So real-time for me, it's never the key. The key is right time. It's to have the right time, because sometimes when you go for real-time, you sacrifice the quality of the data. And when you talk about the quality of the data, and a simple stroll by anyone who knows the Portuguese ecosystem by the Dealroom, it's very complete in one sense, but you see immediate failures in terms of data gaps that need to be progressively updated and enriched for this to be really the best possible mirror of the Portuguese startup ecosystem, of the startup Portuguese ecosystem. So what I think is that you have to always find the right balance between right time and data quality. And that's one of the key things. And one of the things that usually happens with this kind of both platforms, and this is according to my own professional experience, is that after a first boost of interest around this, the key is to keep the interest on it for the data to be updated, for people to use it, because sometimes this falls a bit into the oblivion of forgetting this. That's always a risk with any data platform, because when the public interest diminishes, if the platform is crowdsourced, the source for the interest and the value of the platform diminishes, because there are less people updating the information, adding new information to give a reflection of the actuality of the data that's available there. So another piece of advice, if I may, really keep this going. Try to get all the institutions and startups and VCs and incubators and etc. making periodic efforts to keep the information updated. Okay, otherwise this will be archaeology, and it cannot be only archaeology. That's the best requirement, to keep this available with the right time, not necessarily real time, of course.
Thank you, Peter. Now, you touched another point that I found it really interesting, which is a sort of equilibrium between the real time and the real data. And what about the limits to which data you want to disclose? It comes to mind what happened this week, where Fidzai just became a unicorn, and this was kind of a given knowledge for us at the Portuguese ecosystem. We were expecting this for at least 2 years now, so since it happened, and it's quite the elephant on the room at this point, how do you guys feel that this was managed? I mean, since this was something that was to be expected, do you feel that Fidzai would have won something to disclose a little bit more about what's going on with them?
I'm not sure.
Who knows?
I'm not sure, because that didn't happen, right? In that respect, yeah, I would say they are definitely Portuguese. They did follow the Portuguese culture to the T. So, but good for them, because in reality, they are actually our first Portuguese unicorn, right? So with headquarters here and everything going on here, and they have a long history, and they did really well. So, so I don't think they did anything wrong, to tell the truth.
I think that this always collides with the private interest of everyone, or everyone, individual or collective entity, being an individual or a company. Of course, you cannot force anything on anyone, and you should not. That would be a different kind of social system, political system than one that we have. Unfortunately, we are not there. But obviously, we can try to speculate around it, but I don't really think that's the key here. So I think that obviously people will try to, when they want to show their data because it's good, obviously they will be more prone to updating the data. When they are not so successful, they are not able to be growing revenue for 3 years, probably they will stop putting information here. But again, you'll have to do a balance among all of these things and try to show to everyone that it's better to have information than not having, but always counting on it's everyone's or each one's decision to disclose what they want to disclose, with the exception of information that's public, of course.
Thank you. Now, not that you guys have not been doing a great job talking about the deal room dashboard, but I would like to go in a little bit deeper into like a shameless self-promotion kind of thing, and ask you, prior to this, how hard has it been for you guys to have access to information regarding our ecosystem? This is something that I was really curious about, because it's something that we've been putting a real effort at Startup Portugal and trying to make it happen for some time now. So how do you, being involved in the ecosystem, how do you relate to this? How hard has it been?
Very hard. Okay. I still get amazed. Like even this week, I focus in not a lot of sectors. So in the fashion sector, I thought I had it. I knew every single company, and I still get amazed at how one startup totally, I had no clue. And this week I found out that was one of the startups that was analyzed for the new fund for the European Innovation Council Fund, and it was there, and I never heard of it. Okay, so there's still a lot of startups in Portugal that we do not know about, and they do not talk about it inside of Portugal, but outside they do apply to things, and they are around. So what we have to be better at is just getting our data together. And that's why it's so important to have it local. Okay, so having Deal Room doing a special local Portugal data, yeah, it is important, because now everyone has, now we can see it. And I know there's more than 2,000 and something startups in Portugal.
Well, I think that there has been some attempts, and Startup Portugal has done some of those with the Startup Hub and all that. That mapping occurred. I remember some initiatives in the past where the Made of Lisboa, if I can remember well. But this I've been in this since 2012, so a lot of attempts have been made a long time, you know, and I think that they always failed for the same reason, because again, data was not updated, the interest by using it was lost because probably the information was not as complete as it should be, etc., etc. So I think that the source that I currently use, at least for startups, when I'm trying to sell something to my startup fellows, in terms of tech talent, it's directories like the ones from Startup Portugal. I can say that as a startup and looking at investors, it has always been very difficult to understand the current context and situation of all the investors, because I can tell you that nowadays, if I think about investment in Portugal, I use my network. I don't go to search anything. I go to, I don't know, Miguel Fontes in Startup Lisboa or João Morgan. Hey, what are the investors that are rocking the place right now? And they tell me, oh, it's A, B, C, and D, and you should talk to D, E, and they, oh, I know the guy. So it works a lot by the relations that you have in the ecosystem. A newbie that comes to the ecosystem. Well, again, some directors in now Deal Room comes and give, in my opinion, a great boost, because the information, I think it's better systematized there. But even then, I think that there's kind of this, no, but I think that Deal Room with the things about showing the evolution of investments in the sectors gives a much better outlook of that part from a startup perspective. Okay, so I think that's one of the best improvements. It's, you know, getting more people know which are the investors that are investing in their areas for their kinds of rounds and that are actively investing or not.
Thank you, Pedro, and thank you, Nancy. I think that's all the time we have now. So once again, thank you for joining us. I would like to welcome on stage the Secretary of State for Digital Transition, André Dragão Azevedo. And yeah, I will leave the stage to you, and thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you very much. I will speak in Portuguese. Boa tarde a todos. Queria naturalmente começar por cumprimentar todos os participantes e agradecer em particular à Startup Portugal e a toda a sua equipa pela iniciativa e sobretudo pelo desenvolvimento desta nova ferramenta que, como constatámos no painel anterior e nas intervenções, vem efetivamente acrescentar valor ao nosso ecossistema. Julgo que existe neste momento já algum consenso à volta daquilo que queremos que seja a ambição que temos para este novo ciclo de ecossistema empreendedor nacional, que passa basicamente pelo dobrar de todos os principais indicadores nos próximos anos, seja em termos de número de startups, número de postos de trabalho, capacidade de captação de investimento e peso relativo no PIB nacional, mas naturalmente que essa ambição vem sempre com responsabilidade e com necessidade de monitorização e de escrutínio público dos resultados que queremos efetivamente alcançar. E estamos sobretudo a falar de uma questão de transparência, que permita no fundo aceder a informação objetiva, informação factual sobre as várias dimensões do nosso ecossistema e também do próprio plano de ação para a transição digital, no fundo suportando decisões de investimento privado e a adoção de políticas públicas que sejam simultaneamente sustentadas e sustentáveis. Este não é um desafio que é apenas nacional, é um desafio que é obviamente também europeu, porque o que constatamos, como quase todos os que estão presentes nesta audiência, com certeza também têm a mesma experiência e a mesma visibilidade, também noutros países existe uma grande inconsistência ao nível da informação e o próprio ecossistema europeu, por via da sua excessiva fragmentação enquanto ecossistema e enquanto ordenamento jurídico, tem de facto tornado a Europa, nesta matéria, um bocadinho menos competitiva do que os seus mais diretos concorrentes. E, portanto, como também já foi dito aqui, não se pode gerir o que não se conhece e para se conhecer precisamos de dados o mais precisos possível e de ferramentas que nos ajudem a explorar essa informação e a extrair o conhecimento a partir dela e o valor que lhe está inerente. E por isso esta nova ferramenta é de facto muito relevante porque corresponde a um incremento em termos de qualidade da informação que queremos pôr ao dispor de todos os stakeholders. Este será um processo que, como é óbvio, é necessariamente dinâmico, com melhorias que queremos que sejam incrementais, que nos irão permitir ir adicionando gradualmente novas funcionalidades e queremos que, portanto, temos esta noção de que esta plataforma é, por natureza, um trabalho, um esforço que está sempre inacabado e que terá que se ir renovando permanentemente com um grande esforço em termos de curadoria e também um grande esforço em termos de nos reinventarmos para que tenhamos sempre cada vez melhor instrumentos de trabalho. Mas eu acho que também importa destacar aqui outro tema que tem a ver com a importância de esta base de dados em concreto, com esta plataforma assente na Deal Room, ser agora também comum a outros países, com track record em matéria de empreendedorismo, nomeadamente França, Alemanha, Holanda, Itália, Lituânia ou Finlândia, o que permite uma muito melhor integração entre ecossistemas e uma comparabilidade muito maior. E foi exatamente com o objetivo de termos esta visão cada vez mais integrada dos diferentes ecossistemas de empreendedorismo dos 27 Estados-membros, mas também para permitir, no fundo, uma visão de conjunto e uma melhor harmonização das boas práticas e uma promoção de estándares comuns aos 27 países, que elegemos para a presidência portuguesa do Conselho da União Europeia a aprovação, uma prioridade seria a aprovação de estándares comuns europeus sobre aquilo que se designa como Startup Nation. Existe, de facto, uma grande heterogeneidade entre os vários países neste domínio, há diferentes níveis de maturidade entre os vários países, mas a definição deste quadro comum e uma melhor articulação em rede entre os 27 Estados-membros será, com certeza, um fator adicional de melhoria global da competitividade europeia. E é importante que, no fundo, nós estabilizemos algo que é tão importante e, ao mesmo tempo, tão simples como, por exemplo, o próprio conceito ou a definição de startup, uma vez que daí dependem muitos outros indicadores e muitos outros dados estatísticos. Esta nova plataforma deverá, o objetivo que temos é que disponibilize informação em tempo real ou em tempo quase real, que nos dê, de facto, dados muito fidedignos e cada vez mais harmonizados, bem como informação que seja útil e crítica para a decisão dos investidores. A curto prazo, o que estamos à procura é que ela também possa evoluir para uma lógica de marketplace, que funcione também como plataforma integrada de apresentação e de comercialização para as próprias startups, para apoiar as incubadoras e para apoiar naturalmente também os investidores. E por isso é importante destacarmos aqui a vitória que conseguimos, Portugal conseguiu na passada sexta-feira, no dia 19 de março, durante o Digital Day Europeu, em que foi anunciada a captação para Portugal de uma estrutura permanente europeia para a área do empreendedorismo. Apesar do interesse de outros países, a nova Europe Startup Nation Alliance corresponde a uma escolha política do governo português, a um investimento de base nacional no início, mas que recebeu desde já, formalmente, o apoio institucional da Comissão Europeia. Julgo que será com certeza um marco muitíssimo relevante no estimular do nosso ecossistema e que permitirá a Portugal não só uma ainda maior visibilidade, mas também um maior protagonismo na coordenação da estratégia europeia e na interligação aos mercados de outros países. Será, no fundo, mais um contributo para fazer de Portugal uma verdadeira Startup Nation. Isto significa resultados efetivos, com um ecossistema que responda às necessidades dos três subsetores. Startups, por um lado, ou scale-ups, em segundo, incubadoras e aceleradoras, e em terceiro, os investidores nos seus diferentes perfis. A notícia desta semana de que temos um novo unicórnio de base 100% nacional, naturalmente que nos encoraja ainda mais a continuarmos. Queremos proporcionar condições para que surjam mais FIDSAIs e a resiliência deste ecossistema, mesmo durante a pandemia, mostrou de facto o melhor deste setor e uma dinâmica de contraciclo económico que temos que naturalmente apoiar com todos os nossos recursos. Antes de terminar, e por último, queria reiterar o agradecimento à Startup Portugal e muito em particular ao seu diretor executivo, ao João Borga, que vai mudar de funções, transitar para a direção da ANI, da Agência de Inovação, portanto endereço-lhe aqui desde já os parabéns e queria destacar naturalmente estes 4 anos que dedicou de forma tão intensa ao nosso ecossistema e que agora deverá conhecer um novo ciclo. Muito obrigado a todos e contamos com todos. Boa tarde.
Muito obrigado, Sr. Secretário de Estado. Thank you. I will return to English now just to thank you everyone for joining us over this hour. I hope that now we are all more invested in updating Deal Room and making the Portuguese ecosystem even more future compatible. And once again, thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Pedro, for such a wonderful debate. It was really insightful. And obviously, thank you, Matt, from Deal Room for your wonderful showcase. It was amazing, and I think it was a great way to kickstart this partnership with Startup Portugal and make our ecosystem even more, once again, future compatible. Thank you all, and I hope to see you soon. Bye.